my faithful viewers. This is the second of my 3-players solo Musket Battles videos. Now it's 3-player solo because you have one ref sitting at home and 2 players, each having orders maps, and they can be located anywhere, in a pub, in a library, or at home themselves. They send their orders to the ref carries out those orders and sends the reports back. Now when you send in your orders, they're drawn on the map, so your orders are carried out exactly as you send them in. Wouldn't that be every commander's dream? Well, you're limited by the fact that you can't put special considerations on your orders. It's just, you're basically just saying, move your corps here. That's all you can say. And the ref, when he sends you reports back, speaks in a different language. He keeps it in narrative form, speaking as the corps commander, and says, we've successfully taken the hill. We have failed to take the hill. Heavy casualties. We got to the hill, no one's there. The enemy is actually west of us. Things like that. And you must respond, again, with placing your orders. Say, go here, go there. So you've got the army commander and the corps commanders, both speaking different languages. It actually works out pretty cool. This video is going to have 2 components. The first part is just the player's eye view. They'll know what the reports are, they'll write their orders, and then they'll get reports back. We'll go through that side of the game. And I'll include instructions for how to play the game as a player. Then I'll get to the referee's side of things. And I'll explain, there you'll see the actual orders carried out on the map, and I'll be giving advice to the ref on how to carry out those orders. Most of my advice is not to overthink things, just to keep it simple, fast, smooth playing, because as the ref, you're kind of like a game master in a role-playing game. You're hosting a game and you're hoping your players have a good time. So as ref, you want to make sure they have a good time. If they have a good time, they'll probably be back to do it again. Alright, enough jibber jabber. Let's get into it. Alright, now the Marengo scenario starts on turn 0 with the Austrian breakout. It's not necessary on the opening turn to draw your starting positions on the map. The ref just needs to see your first turn orders, and then he can extrapolate where the units started. Now I intend to have Melis start from right here and go straight across to here and off this side of the map. That's the strategy. So I could just put him here and say go there, but that doesn't allow me to adjust in between times, and if something happens, I don't know, and I can't line him up with the other commands. So ideally, I'll put him about where he's going to go in one turn. Now here's your movement stick, and they can move 1/3. The map is 1/3 the size of the gaming map. So this on the gaming map is this on the order map. So seeing where they can reach, I'm going to suggest that Melis brings his command up to the river. Now he has a large command, and I want to give him some room. Now I want to have Ott and O'Reilly, whose chit ID says L and R, covering his southern flank. There you have it. The Austrian player's turn 0 orders. At this point the French player is still sleeping. Now at the game opening, the French player isn't moving anywhere, but where he sets up might make a difference. You can see what he's allowed to set up on the map. Now I don't have to put Napoleon and Murat on these first orders maps because their setup is specified in exactly where they have to be. However, Lon and Victor have a little more area that they can occupy. I'm going to place Lon in the north and Victor south of Marengo. The Austrian player is told that Melis can't quite reach his designated position because the French field of fire covers that. There are French just south of Castel Ciriolo, although north of Castel Ciriolo, no forces are seen. Ott and O'Reilly report that there's a French line starting at Marengo and heading south. The Austrian player orders Melis north of Castel Ciriolo, with Ott and O'Reilly just south of it. Now these are smaller commands, so I can place them closer without running into problems. Now Napoleon is awakened amid reports that the Austrians are breaking out. The French player orders Napoleon and Murat forward and slightly north. They're coming from back here, they're moving up there. Now the French player hears from Victor that there's no one coming out of this area. They don't see them coming out of here.
Well, actually what he gets reported is that the Austrians are coming out of Alexandria and looks like they're heading straight east. Lon sends reports that they're almost to him. Battalion guns have kept him back, but he can't hold for long, not against the numbers he sees coming out. Napoleon knows he eventually wants him to fall back to the hills, but not in one move. We'll suggest that Lon edges back just a little, and Victor will join him. Now you'll notice that with these orders there are no facings, and that's because it's assumed that the local corps commanders have a better idea of exactly which way to face and exactly what their situation is. What the player as army commander is trying to do is make the whole army operate as an organized whole. Now the Austrians are giving some conflicting news. The French on the left are falling back, but the French on the right are holding. Melas reports to the Austrian player that he expects to be reaching his designation within the hour. Ott and O'Reilly reported the French are falling back. But how does he want to do this? The French south of them are holding. He also hears reports that Melas' command is becoming fouled up with O'Reilly and Ott's command. And he elects to change no orders. He's going to let his army untangle itself. Let's hear what the French are doing. Now Lon reports that his troops have been driven back south of Castle Ciriolo and at the bottom of the ridgeline. Okay. The French player orders Lon to take a position on the ridge. Victor is ordered to wheel aggressively and attack from the south. Murat is going to go straight north, and Napoleon is going to support Lon. The chit actually has a B on it for Bonaparte. Stop being confusing. Scratch out the old. You got Lon falling back to the ridge, Napoleon racing up to support him, Victor driving from the south, and Murat racing north, in case there's any end round, because here and here are the two exit points for the Austrian player. If they get around Castle Ciriolo and get on this road, all is lost. Murat's going to prevent that. The players send their orders to the ref. In turn 3, the late morning, the Austrian player is informed that the seemingly inactive French corps to the south is now driving up and has thrown O'Reilly's troops back. Up north, the French have fallen back to the hills, though apparently the Pavois is clear. They're going to make a run for it. He checks the distance. He's going to order Melas to head up the road. At this point, he'll have Ott moving to follow Melas, and O'Reilly can form up west of him. Now, of course, and this might be similar to the old diplomacy game, where they do gunboat diplomacy, where they can't send any communications with the other players. All they can do is hope that they can guess by their moves what they mean, if they want an alliance or whatever. Anyway, here, he wants O'Reilly and Ott to form up a mobile defense and then follow Melas off the map. That's if things go perfectly. He expects the French to be in their hair the whole way. We'll see what happens next turn. Now the French player orders Murat to get up and capture the road. He wants Lon to move directly east of Castel Ciriolo and Napoleon to position south of him. Victor will continue pressing straight north. Now the Austrian player is told that the French are amassing on the hill west of Villanova. More troops are arriving. And of course, the French from the south are racing up, although O'Reilly's troops are delaying them. Melas is told to continue pressing along the main road here. Ott is told to secure the road here, and O'Reilly is ordered to the wood line here. By dividing the defense in two different directions, they're hoping to confuse and break up the French attack from the south. The French player is going to have Napoleon and Lon hold the line right here. Actually, Napoleon is going to be brought back here, so he can shell the Austrians with his artillery. Victor will be sent to edge forward, and hopefully, Desai will arrive sometime soon. Okay, now the reports given to the Austrian player suggest that the French seem somewhat stymied. They're still sitting complacently on the hill. The French west of Castel Ciriolo are bogged down. They're not moving. They were held up, and they're not moving very fast. And there's a small cavalry force that withdrew at the head of Melas' command. So it's time for them to get moving. He's actually going to have Melas' command go straight east rather than follow the road. He will send Ott's forces west of Lola here, and O'Reilly will follow Ott I don't want to get them too close together and follow them up. Now O'Reilly is all along here in the woods. We're only going to send him this far. We want his command to keep together. Note that if I had written for Melis's troops to go all the way to here, I want them to get here and get off the map. What you end up with then is your command becomes very stretched out as they all try to get to that point. By putting in shorter route orders, the command is able to keep together and maintain its line formation. Now here we have the French player. His orders for Victor were to move here, and Victor should have been able to get there, except the Austrians held him up, and Victor has not made it yet. So Victor's orders won't change at this point, because the Austrians are held up here, and Lon has reported that the Austrians are positioned here with artillery, but the rest of the Austrian army is sliding by. Well, there's no reason to sit up here and just get hit by artillery. Bonaparte is going to take his artillery and position it south of Lola, and then he can open up on them. Lon is going to fall back here, and they're going to order the baggage trains unpacked here. That BT is a command for a baggage train to unpack. Now Murat reports that his cavalry has fallen back from the Austrian advance, because cavalry is essentially used to attack, not defend. But they can really delay a movement. Now if I don't change Murat's orders, when he gets drawn, he will attack that position again. Do I want him doing that? No, I'm going to have him hold up. I don't want to go that far. And they already advanced, the Austrians have already advanced and displaced him when he was here. We're going to put him back here at that intersection. We'll actually have Victor give him further orders to move to there. We don't want him to get too stretched out at this point. And finally Desai comes on down here. Now this may be risky, but I'm going to tell Desai to race all the way to that intersection of the road and defend there. Now because Desai is on the map now, he commands Mounier's division, which is with Bonaparte. So Mounier's division will start moving towards that point. And there are the orders. Victor reports he's reached his position here, and Melis's troops are seen directly in front of him. Victor is done pussyfooting. He's racing up there. Desai is still reaching this point, and Murat is kept in the same place to where he reports to being. He's delaying the advance. Now it's turn 7, early evening, and the once proud Austrian army is in disarray. The Austrian player is told that his units are all held up in a mess right about here, just outside of Lobo to the east, and that the French are closing in from the west. And dust clouds suggest a large French force moving along a road they want to capture. Now the player has to remember when he's looking at this map that his troops are actually back here, and the French are closing in. It's risky, but they need to capture this road. We're going to bring O'Reilly over here to the left, so that next turn he can reach the road. But remember, he's way back here and confused. How far forward will he get? The sun is low in the sky and it's getting desperate. If Desai weren't there, the French would be desperate. But they just might pull this off. He orders Murat to hold. He wants Victor to hold. Victor isn't there yet. Victor reports that he's still back here. Napoleon is going to be moved right there, and Lon is going to be joining Victor, striking the mass of Austrian units. And now, what is left for the Austrians? They try one last desperate move. Desai's fresh troops are here. There's no way they can eliminate them. Well, it could happen, but those odds are really slim. So instead, the Austrian player gambles on a flanking move. This here is also an exit line of communication. Remember, they don't have to get off the map. They have to have a clear route off in the night. Not a clear route off, that would be bad. A clear route off. There are no French blocking them here. Murat reports he's being overwhelmed. Napoleon orders him to fall back here. The French orders the rest of his forces to chase the Austrians off the map. Napoleon is actually going to stay right where he is, because in the event he gets drawn early, he can probably take his artillery, can probably shoot at some Austrians before they get away and break them up. In the meantime, he sits here in the shade of the woods and dreams of his triumph in Paris.
No spoilers. Now let us watch the battle as the ref sees it. Then we'll see how it ends. Alright, so here I am as the ref setting up the Austrian player. Now both armies will fit in one of these cube for me Euro card deck trays.
And as you can see, even with big old hands like mine, it makes setting up an army pretty smooth and easy.
And voila! I have Melis's command right down the center. I have Ott on the left, O'Reilly on the right. That's to get out of Alexandria here. Once they do get out, these two commands will be moving this way, and Melis will be moving up here, as per the orders. Now Melis's orders actually suggest I center the unit here, but as you see, that'll bring me within the field of fire of the French. So I'll be stopping back here. And this is the turn 0 breakout move as it appears on the game map. I will call this the game map and these the order map. So this is how it appears on the game map. And of course, the French don't move. Now as a ref, I can see what all these units are because their labels are face up. But in a two-player game, all you see are the blocks. The labels are turned down. So the Austrian player is informed that there's a large French force directly in front of him and a stretched out French force south of that. The ref draws the chits and plays out turn 1. Melis's orders tell him advance to that point. There is Melis's move. Now you'll note that the front line of the unit has advanced this far and Melis has conformed to this defending unit. All the rest of Melis's command must face this direction. Then Murat advances, and Victor falls back to Spinetta. Bonaparte, Lon is next, and he will fall back just outside of the Austrian field of fire. Lon falls back. Next Ott is drawn. Now his orders have him advancing all the way to here. And last drawn is O'Reilly. Now you'll note here that Melis moved first, and Melis has a huge command that is kind of in the way. Nues's command ends up interpenetrating with Melis's command, as can be seen here. And this shows how these orders can get cocked up one way or another. So now we begin with the first round of combat. This Austrian cavalry detachment is attacking the French line. The Austrian detachment gets 0 hits because, not because there's 0 there, but because it's black. Detachments miss on a black. French do 2 hits. Now it takes 1 to eliminate a detachment. So they're eliminated and this detachment retreats. In the next combat, the French have the detachment and the Austrian have the light troops as designated by the tan labels. Now light troops don't actually have any in-game function. They don't act any differently. At this scale, they're no different. It's just added color, figuratively and literally. Okay, the Austrians got it, did 2 hits. French missed. Now the French light troops are going to fall back. They become spent and fall back. It's too early in the game to fight decisively and risk losing somebody. Next combat, again, a French detachment. Both deliver 2 hits. Of course, the detachment can only deliver 1 and suffer 1. Seeing that the Austrians are vulnerable, the French push forward. Again, both delivering 2. So the French are thrown back, but the Austrians sacrifice a unit to do so. O'Reilly's corps is thrown back by the French assault. And that ends turn 1. The ref receives the orders for turn 3. Draws the chit. The first one is Ott. Ott is not directed to attack, but to occupy here. Now, of course, he's running into the French field of fire. He's okay in the city, but outside the city, he needs to be back this far. Now, here's his line, and he can refuse the right flank, and that's what he does. Next is Victor. Now, let me explain what's going on here. The French, Victor wants to advance like this, but he's running into Austrians here. And this Austrian, the end of that unit is in the area behind the main line. So these units in back are completely free to turn and face and attack anyone in their rear area. So he gets a flank attack. Lon is drawn, and Lon moves north. He's 3 units wide. The 2 outside units can refuse their flanks. And that's how that looks. Next, Melis is ordered to move. Now Melis has moved. These units on the left here could have moved all the way to here, but we're talking, this unit stopped here. The Grenadiers stopped to attack this French unit in front of them. So that's where the line was drawn. Now they've got a refused flank, but the rest of the line extends out this way. Because they're getting into combat now, these units behind it are staying back, so they don't get followed up by retreating units. Now I would have liked to have attacked with these units, attack that, but that's not my orders. My orders tell me just to move up to here, or to attack up to here. That was defending against the field of fire. This is not.
Next is O'Reilly, and he's ordered to move back to here. That'll still be within the French field of fire, so that's how far back they have to go. Bonaparte moves up, occupies the ridgeline. Finally, Murat's drawn. There he is, again holding the road. Now here are two combats. Flank attack and the Grenadiers attacking. The French are driven back, but the light troops are lost. Right? Those light troops were only in a detachment. The detachment result was actually a miss, so that's how that looks. The Grenadiers attack. No surprise there, the French are driven back. I almost forgot, on turn 3, Revaux's Hussars show up. I'm getting sloppy, I almost forgot, start of the game, Napoleon had a division of Desailly's corps that's under his command until Desailly arrives the next turn. They wouldn't have got here any sooner than Napoleon, so that's where they are. Here we are, turn 2. First chit drawn is Ott, next drawn is Melos. And that is Melos's move. The commands are beginning to separate. Now it's Lon. Lon is ordered to fall back. Murat is ordered to go north. Next is O'Reilly. Now he's ordered to hold his position right where he is. But the French in front of him are running this way, and these French below him are a threat. He turns to face the threat, and then the threat attacks. Here we have Victor attacking O'Reilly. First chit drawn is Victor. Now this is suboptimal because the Austrians haven't moved yet, and they'll just continue to fall back. Now, a couple things you note here. The orders don't say anything about the Austrian troops here, so Victor's corps is just going forward like it's told. But if Melos isn't drawn first, there's going to be a lot of confusion here. Next is Lon. Lon's orders haven't changed, and there are Austrians in his limit of advance, so he's going to be attacking them. That is Lon's attack. Murat is holding, and of course Revaux joins him. Bonaparte is drawn next, and he's ordered to move north. Again, you can see it's falling out differently than if players were looking directly at the map and playing across from each other. Well, all the French commands have been drawn first, and then Melos is drawn. This is an ideal situation. That's how Melos moves. Ott has been ordered to move west of Castelcirolo, but he has not been ordered to advance up onto the hill, so he's holding below it outside the field of fire. Last O'Reilly is drawn. He's ordered to fall back to the wood line. We'll start with the assault on the Emperor's artillery. The artillery is pulled to safety and the guard surges forward. The guard falls back, protecting the artillery. The ground is hotly contested and no one is left in control of it. The Austrian infantry drive on the cavalry. Of course, the cavalry simply falls back. And now it's turn 5, early afternoon, and Desailly will arrive. Next we see a desperate battle about to explode. Turn 6 and the ref executes the orders. First is Desailly, and Desailly is just reaching his limit of advance, which is positioned right here. And Meunier races to join him. Murat is drawn first and gets a chance for most of his cavalry to recover. Now, his dragoons fanned out to expand his line so they can't recover, they can't rally to fresh. Lon's troops rally to fresh. Ott moves next, and he contacts Murat's right flank. Melos is drawn next, and his cavalry charges ahead. Now Melos has the Kaiser Dragoons, a small detachment, charge Kellerman's cuirassiers. This is heroic, it surely won't go well for them, but he expects to push aside units on either side, and Kellerman will be forced to fall back. There's Melos' move. Victor races forward. Now ordinarily Victor would be squared up against O'Reilly's troops, but he's ordered to advance to this point, not over here. So this is how he hits O'Reilly's corps. Next is O'Reilly's move. He's drawn. He's actually ordered to be here, but of course he can't reach that, so he'll end up right here, behind Ott's corps. And there they are. The Austrians are getting really crowded up over there. Napoleon is drawn last, and he rallies. Now we move to combat. The French get to choose the order of combat, and they're going to have Kellerman go first. If he can drive back the Austrians in the center, then he can gain an overlapping advantage for the two units on his flanks. In his first round versus the Kaiser Dragoons, which are just a detachment, the Dragoons are lost. But he has also suffered a hit, which he's able to ignore with his elite status, but now that has been used. Now this next combat, he's facing light troops, and they're just a detachment. But they're fresh. Cavalry attacking fresh gets a reduced die. Though again, this light is just a detachment, so all they can do at best is 1 point of damage. The Jagers are lost. Kellerman is spent, but he's still there. In these last 2 combats, the Austrians overlapping, and the French overlapping in the center, so there's no overlapping bonus either way. Straight up die for the situation. This time the French cavalry can't fall back because they're facing mounted. This is Hussars on Hussars, Rivaux versus Fürst. It's indecisive and they're both thrown back. Both thrown back means neither of them stayed for the fight. Here we have mounted versus fresh infantry. But the mounted manages to inflict 2 damage. But disastrously, that pushes this whole line back, disordering this entire Austrian column. And Murat's dragoons fall back. And the ref executes the orders for turn 5. So Bonaparte has unpacked bags. He's very congested here because Mounier's division of Desai's corps hasn't moved yet, and they're still here. Now Desai moves. First off, Mounier's division falls back and moves towards their orders point, which is here. Then Desai himself comes on, and he's stretched out like that. It looks like the big battle's going to happen here where Desai is ordered to go. O'Reilly is drawn next, and he's told to go to this point. And there he's positioned. Then Melas is drawn. He's ordered to go here. That's how Melas moves. Next is Ott. Ott is told to go north of Lobi. He's ordered to fall back behind the hill. Murat is ordered to hold this position, and he does. And last Victor is drawn. Victor's orders want him here. Now we go to the combat phase. Murat is overlapped on both sides, and he just falls back. He's successfully delaying Melas' advance.
And now we move to turn 6, early evening.
And now the referee executes the orders for turn 7, early evening. First drawn is Victor, and Victor charges the Austrian line in the rear. Next is Melas. Melas' troops race forward. The Austrians escape Victor's grasp. Next is Desai, and he forms up his defense. Next drawn is Ott, and Ott knows what he needs to do. He ignores the French cav and races around. Murat is heavily engaged. His dragoons charge the flank of the Austrian hussars. O'Reilly is drawn, and he races ahead. Bonaparte is drawn, and he attacks the Austrian line. And Lannes is drawn. He also does not attack because his orders only indicate that he's to go to here. Napoleon's guards flank attack. Surprise, surprise, the Austrians are wiped out. Rivaux's hussars, having held up the Austrians, fall back. They're only faced by infantry, and cavalry can disengage with infantry before combat. This is all cavalry, no disengaging here. First, the exhausted and spent cuirassiers are outflanked by the Austrian cavalry. Cuirassiers suffered 2 hits, placing them there. They actually drove the whole Austrian line back before they fell back. This here is all artillery, and it doesn't get pushed back. And now dragoons flanking hussars. They both are lost. It was exhausted dragoons flanking fresh hussars.
Turn 8, the final orders of the day are executed by the ref. First is Desai.
Desai unpacks bags and rallies Mounier's division. Lannes collides with the French artillery. Limbered and racing away. Melas. Melas has been given new orders. As the bags race away, you'll notice that the bags were hidden in this orchard north of Lobi and were never spotted by the French. Bonaparte stops at the little villa at the Cascines de Pagelli and begins writing his memoirs and the stories of his triumph. Murat is told to fall back here and rest. O'Reilly gets new orders and moves his troops out. And Ott also has new orders. And Victor charges forward in hot pursuit. And here we can see, at day's end, that in the night the Austrian army will make its escape off its line of communications
to the east. As a ref, I send what can only be a surprise result to the French and a happy result to the Austrian player. The Austrians have fulfilled their victory conditions and won at Marengo. They were able to break out and escape. Of course, in his message to Paris, Napoleon writes that his mercy stayed his hand and he allowed the Austrians to escape with at least some dignity. And Napoleon is awarded the French medal pour le spin doctoring. Alright folks, that was a lot of fun. That was really cool. Let me know what you think. Now that I've play tested a few games this way, I'm pretty confident this could be really cool. And I'm going to be looking for some volunteers on my Facebook page to see if anyone's interested in playing a scenario this way. I'll be sitting here at home with the map set up. The players will download their maps from the Command Post Games website and we'll let them write their orders. And we'll see how it plays out. I'm hoping I can find a couple people who'd be interested in doing this. So if you are, head over to the Musket Battles fans Facebook page and let me know.